Okay, cool. All right, so how's everyone doing? Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns to start it off? Okay, so couple things. I got a couple questions this weekend. I got a few SMART goals. Some people sent in their SMART goals, which is awesome. They looked pretty good overall. The one thing that I kept seeing as a recurring theme with everyone is that the time frame could be more specific. Okay, so remember specific, measurable, and all of that. And so a lot of them said by the end of the semester, right? Well, and I know that's like what I would use or I was saying in the examples, but we can be even more specific than that, right? So what does the end of the semester mean for you? Does that mean like 2 weeks from now because you checked out and you've got like senioritis and you're like, I'm done with this semester. I turned in all of my work. I got ahead. And so that's it. Is that the week before finals? Is that after finals? Right? So how can we make it even more specific? Just give me a date. Okay. September 22nd. That's what I want to do. I want to complete my goal by tomorrow or whatever it may be. When are you going to do your post test to see whether or not you got better or not? That was one of the big things that I saw. Any other questions about the SMART goal? Okay, so another thing, we're going to talk about the overhead squat pictures. I saw some people uploaded some pictures already, and that's great. We'll talk a little bit about it. I know, I just threw up some slides and everything. We're going to go over the training benefits, and then I've got a bunch of different examples of how to track workouts as well. One other thing that happened over this weekend is, so the university reached out to me and a professor had to leave the university for some personal reasons, and they asked me to take over their 2 classes as well. So I'm taking over 2 other classes. That's not going to affect you guys whatsoever. Our classes are still going to meet when they are, still have office hours when they are. However, the reason why we're not really going to work out today is that today for me, I've got a lot of stuff to go through this other professor's syllabus, get their class roster all together, create all new PowerPoint slides for what that class requires of me. And so there's a ton of work on me. And it, like, honestly, guys, it came at the worst possible time. I've got my advanced statistics and research exam tomorrow, which the professor already told us, like, if you don't get an A on this one, then you probably are not going to you're probably not going to pass the class because each test progressively gets harder and harder and harder. And so just a lot on my plate right now. So I apologize for not working out today and taking more of like an administrative day. So I'm going to try, honestly, to get you guys out of here early so that I can get to work. So that's why, another reason why I'm going to record this lecture and post it, because I'm just going to be rapid fire shooting some things off so I can go ahead and get started on taking over these other classes, which meet Monday and Wednesday as well. So I've got a lot of work to do. Any questions, comments, concerns on that end? I'm going to open. Thanks, Zach. I really appreciate it. I feel like I got it too. It's just, it's going to be a busy couple days. That's all. All right. So let's go ahead. Let me try and get some share screen going so that we can take a look at the overhead squat assignment real quick. Actually, you know what? Let's go. Yeah, let's do overhead squat assignment. That's totally fine. We'll do that first. Share screen. Let's go here. Share that. All right, here we go. Slideshow. Play from the start. All right. Now Zoom's taken over all of my. Can everybody see this? You guys see this?
Yes.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so basically I sent that Dropbox links. And what all I want you to do is take 2 pictures, right? One from the side, 90-degree angle, and then one from the front. And I'm also going to show you kind of what I'm looking for when I do this. Now, again, this is your pre-test, so I'm not judging very much, right? All I'm going to do is mark it up on some apps, send a picture back to you or a link back to your picture so that you can look and see what I'm actually trying to improve over the course of the semester, okay? So from the side view, what we're looking at is 90-degree view, all right, a view. I can clearly see your hips. Can you guys see my mouse when I move it? Cool. Okay, so I'm looking at your hips here, right? obviously I did a poor overhead squat for this picture. I want to see how far we can get them down. Go down as far as you're able to, but I want to be able to see your hip crease. So if you're wearing all black like I am, and then you're standing in front of a black wall, maybe that's not the greatest contrast in, colors, and I won't be able to see. So kind of keep that in mind too. Whatever lighting or however far away, your clothing choice, all of that. Basically, I want to be able to see where your hips are at. This 90 degrees, I should be able to see, hey, in clear relation to your shoulders, where's your head at, right? Is your ear through the window? Is it not? We have a little bit of shoulder mobility issues. Is it way back? Is it way forward? All of those type of things. I can see the position of your head, whether or not you're looking straight ahead, you're looking down, you're looking up, your chin's tucked, just basic orientation of your head. I can see what your back's doing, and I can see your feet. Are your heels raised? Are they not, right? So if you take a picture and all I can see is from mid-shin up, it's not really giving me everything that I need to work with. From the front view, all right, try not to look so scared like I am right here, but I can see how far spaced my hands are, right? So this might be a little bit trickier of an angle. You're gonna need a little bit of distance between you and your camera. I can see your hips. I can see the knees, making sure that they're tracking over the toes. And again, I can see your feet, right? So those are the things that I'm looking for out of the two angles. Again, you're not getting graded or, based on how good your form is. We're just looking to see that you participated, and we're using this as a start point so that I can give some coaching cues, and then you can try and work on these things throughout the semester. Any questions on the overhead squat pictures? Doesn't have to be a video, two pictures, that will suffice. If you want to use something to blur your face out, I totally get it, right? 2020 is crazy. Privacy is quickly being eroded. Professors are using Proctorio and all that, right? So do what you got to do to make you feel comfortable. That Dropbox, nobody can get links to it or anything. I'm not posting these anywhere. All right, do what you got to do. Try and get some pictures in. We're trying to learn, that's all. Cool. There's no questions. We'll quickly move along to the next one. Let's see. Let's do benefits. Oh, good. Mark asked, when's the due date for these pictures? I didn't put a due date up there, but let's try and get them in by the end of the week, right? So the sooner you guys can get them in, the sooner I can mark them up and get them back to you. To be quite honest, am I going to get them back to you probably by Thursday? Probably not. With everything that's going on with my test, getting these other classes up and running, my goal would probably to be get them done this weekend and turn them back into you guys by next week. So you got a couple days. I'd like, if you guys can do it by the end of this week, that'd be great. I'll remind you all again on Wednesday, but I'm not going to be a huge I got a lot going on in my life, so I got to imagine that you all got a lot going on in your life, so I'm not going to be, hounding you too bad or taking points if you don't get it in by the end of this week. Now, if it's like week 15, Mark, and you still haven't gotten it to me, then we're probably going to have to talk. All right. Let's go screen share. PowerPoint benefit share. All right, play from the start. Cool. You guys see this? Benefits of resistance training. Perfect. Okay, so we've got some general benefits, right? And why are we even talking about benefits? Well, you guys are taking this class, right? Hopefully you've got some interest in strength training or resistance training, if you will. And then also, I want to talk about this because I would imagine, I know at least some of you have reached out to me and said, hey, I'm interested in getting into the fitness industry. Maybe you're doing some personal training, right now. And so what are some of the things that you can convey to your clients? What about, my dad just had a quadruple bypass surgery last year. He was a really good, he's in the college football Hall of Fame. He had signed with the Browns, really good. It holds all the New Jersey state records, and just stopped exercising after he got hurt and blew his knee out, went up to 310 pounds, diabetes, smoker, drinker, quadruple bypass, double carotid. Also just had a stroke this year, right? And it's like, Dad, come on, like, this is my profession. This is what I do. let me explain some of these benefits. So not only for you, but also so maybe you can try and convince somebody to start working out. General benefits across the board, right? So increased metabolism. You're going to burn more calories the more fit that you are. All right. Your body doesn't really love to build muscle. It's really, really, really energy expenditure is really high to keep muscle on, right? That's why when you stop working out, your body starts breaking down that muscle. So if you want to change your body composition, one of the best ways to do that is increase lean muscle mass. All right. Increase bone density. So through different laws, all right, that we're not going to get into, it's a little bit, beyond this. When you put pressure on your bones, that signals to your body to go ahead and make those bones stronger. It sees those forces as a negative thing, and so it builds up more bone around your existing structures. All right, this is why resistance training is so beneficial to a lot of people, is that it prevents osteoporosis. It also just like it decreases your risk of injury, which we'll get into later. One of my previous coaches, Jared Fleming, who is an American record holder and a Olympic hopeful, he blew his ACL out while he was lifting, went to go get surgery, and they couldn't reattach his ACL because the screws kept stripping out because his bone density from years of Olympic weightlifting was so high, they could not get a bone screw into his bone. They had to go ahead and do a different type of procedure, and he's totally fine, and he's working out, and he's doing great now. But it just goes to show how awesome your body is at preventing, itself from getting injured. It'll build bone up that strong. Increase muscle mass. We'll talk about this in a little bit, I think, as well, but one of the best all-cause predictors of mortality they're starting to find is hand strength. So old people or elderly people with stronger hands seem to live longer, and that's because you've got more muscle mass when you're stronger. You can be more productive, you can lift more, you're a more robust general, specimen, if you will. Loss of adipose tissue. You've got greater glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. So this is for those people who may be diabetic, either type 1 or type 2. The difference being whether or not it's, your pancreas attacks those cells, or which is the autoimmune disorder, or you've just, had poor diet choices for a long time and your body's resistant to insulin. Muscle contraction. Again, we're going to probably get into the weeds, and you guys need to know this, actually signals for transporters to move in your body to uptake blood sugar independent of insulin. So what that means is that if you're insulin resistant, or your body doesn't create insulin because you've got an autoimmune disorder, muscle contraction moves those transporters in the absence of insulin. So you can actually lower your blood sugar just by working out and not needing extra insulin, all right, which is a great thing for people who are diabetic. Lower all-cause mortality, lowers your risk of stroke, heart attack. Resistance training also lowers your blood pressure. What about children, right? So this is going to be one of the big ones, and I still get this a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about it on the next slide, but for children, it increases their muscle mass. There's been a lot of studies out there that children who lift weights actually grow better. They get to their optimal growth on those tables, like what percentile is your child in compared to his peers or her peers. All right, they've shown kids that do a little bit of resistance training actually grow better than those who do not. A lot of studies out there showing that it improves your cognitive abilities. And so for those kids who may have been diagnosed with ADHD or have a hard time concentrating, they've taken these kids out and put them into a resistance program before school, and then looked at their test scores and their ability to pay attention while they're in school afterwards, and they've seen marked improvements. These kids that exercise typically get less injuries, and that's a big one, especially for female soccer players or volleyball players. Females typically have lower bone density, and they typically have lower muscle mass. And therefore, we see a lot more injuries in female athletes than we do male athletes when they're younger. And so creating a more robust structure through resistance training actually decreases the amount of injuries. And then everything else that we talked about with BMI, diabetes, all of those things, that improves for children. And then a big one that maybe not a lot of people think about is self-esteem. Lifting weights, doing something active and productive has been shown to increase self-esteem, which is huge for children, especially in these times where, you know, cyberbullying and all of this is a big deal and it's happening at a bigger rate. Having a program for a kid to get into to raise their self-esteem is really, really beneficial. Now, this kid looks super jacked, right? This is kind of a funny picture. It's probably not going to happen to every kid. This kid actually has a myostatin disorder where he doesn't produce myostatin. Myostatin is a down regulator of muscle growth. So if you take away a down regulator of muscle growth, you're just free to build muscle 24 hours nonstop. If you've ever seen a Belgian blue cow, that's what that cow has, is they've knocked out the myostatin and these cows are just yoked as hell. Not actually a real good thing probably, because your heart's a muscle and it will continue to grow. And so this child, unfortunately, may or may not, we don't know. Not very many people have this, may have health complications down the line, but that's not in relation to lifting weights. It's a genetic thing he's got going on. Here's the big one, right? Everybody who's heard, whoops, what happened? Who's heard of this? Stunt your growth, right? Yeah, Zach, that kid's more jacked than everyone in here. Stunt your growth, right? Here's something that I get all the time, right? I used to do clinics for kids. We had I used to train a high school volleyball team, and I would have parents, even at the high school level, come in and say, I don't want my kid lifting weight. It's going to stunt their growth. All right. And they're just simply not thinking about this in terms of real life forces. Okay. Now, this is totally a gee whiz. You will not be tested on this at all, but I thought it was really, I think that it's pretty interesting. So we can figure out how much force is put on a body through simple math and physics. All right. Just because you're a human doesn't mean that you don't fall into the realm of physics. All right. So we've got force equals mass times acceleration times the height at which that object fell from. I am grossly oversimplifying this. So if you have taken a physics class and you're like, what? All right, yes, you're probably right? We're not taking into account horizontal forces or anything like that. Let's just break this down to the simplest common denominator so that we've got an idea of what's happening. So if I take a kid and I jump, and I take that kid and I jump from 3 feet, which I did the research is the common height of a back of a truck bed. So how many of you, myself included, when you were a kid, climbed in the back of like your granddad or your uncle or your brother or something's pickup truck and would jump out pretending like you're in WWF off the top rope? All right, 3 feet is not very high. That's what I'm getting at. And let's say we've got a 40-kilogram kid, which that comes out to be, I don't know if I put it in there. No, that's the average weight for a 13-year-old. I looked that up. So that's 88 pounds. Okay, so we've got an average 13-year-old, 40 kilograms. He jumps off the back of a bed of a truck, 9.81 meters second squared. That's the rate of gravity. All right, that's a constant in our universe. If you do all of that math out, you come out that he is hitting the ground, he or she is hitting the ground with 358 newtons of force. Now, that doesn't really matter. Just let's look at the numbers here. All right, 358 Newton meters of force is what he hits the ground. We take that same 13-year-old who weighs 40 kilos and we put a barbell on their back, which is a 20-kilo bar. It's 45 pounds. Again, this is not anything that I would do. I would probably start them off with a PVC pipe like all of you, then a 15-pound bar, then a 30-pound bar. But let's just say we took this 13-year-old, never lifted a day in their life, put a 45-pound bar back on their back. All right, so now we've got 60 kilos, bar plus the kid, moving against gravity minus how long it's going to take them to get to the bottom of the back squat. And I got that 0.7 meters per second squared from some Russian manuals where they measured actually elite powerlifters. And again, I wouldn't make a 13-year-old squat at the rate of an elite powerlifter. but I'm really trying to show how not dangerous lifting weights are. So let's pretend this 13-year-old 40-kilo boy is back squatting a bar at elite powerlifting level speeds, okay? That's the height of the bar travel, that 0.34 meters, probably for a kid that size. That's how far he's going to travel. The newtons we get there are 166 newtons, less than half. All right. So when you think about all the forces that a kid puts on their body, jumping off of the playground, swinging their backpack around, all of this, to think that those activities outside of a weight room are less detrimental than having a kid squat under the supervision or bench under the supervision of an experienced, all of you, right, after you graduate, underneath the eye of an experienced coach who's accredited and all of that, under extremely controlled circumstances, is going to somehow be more detrimental to their health than just playing outside, is absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of parents don't think of it in these terms, right? That kid that jumps off the tailgate, is he landing in sand? Is he landing on concrete? Is there some glass on the floor? Is there an unstable surface? Is it on a slope, right? All of those things are controlled for in a weight room. And these are kind of the ideas that you need to get across to parents and adults when you're looking at potentially training the youth population. What about pregnant women? All right. There's a lot of good research coming out now. Now, it's hard to do research on pregnant women, all right, for obvious reasons, right? We don't want to do anything or try like, hey, lady who's like halfway through your pregnancy, I'd like to do an experiment on you and see if this is healthy or not, right? One, no ERB board is going to allow that. And then two, no pregnant woman is probably going to do that and risk their health, right? But we have been able to look at some things, and the evidence looks pretty good, right? So benefits for both the cardiovascular system, for both the woman and the kid. The big one is urinary incontinence. This is really big for women who have given birth. It's typically afterwards. It's difficult for women to do things without peeing themselves a little bit. If you've ever been to a CrossFit class, jumping rope is something that's really, really, really difficult for ladies to not have a little bit of urinary incontinence doing so. And so keeping up the musculature and doing some resistance training has seen to improve that dramatically. Also, they typically have a reduced strain of labor. So working those muscles out helps push a baby out, right? Weird. It's kind of weird to think about, but it makes sense. Increased recovery times. The more muscle mass that you can hold on to, the quicker your recovery time is going to be. And so taking 9 months off for your pregnancy, that's a lot of time that you're not using muscles, and it's that muscle's kind of wasting away. When you come back from the pregnancy, it's harder to gain up all of that ground. And so we talked about this a little bit before. It's hard to put on muscle, but once you have it, it's really easy to maintain it. So you don't have to do a ton of weight while you're pregnant to maintain that muscle mass. Doing the bare minimum is going to help you come back and bounce back. Now, there are some risks involved, and so you should absolutely, if any of you ladies are planning on getting pregnant one day, or if any of you are going to work with a pregnant woman, you should do your research. You should reach out to some professionals, find some literature on it, find people who have worked with this population before you go ahead and either try training them, or if you are the one who's pregnant yourself, before jumping into a trainer, make sure that they've trained some pregnant women before. Make sure that you reach out to them, because the last thing that we want to do is put anybody at harm, right? First rule of anything is do your client no harm. For the elderly, we can slow their muscle loss. That's a big thing for the elderly population. Increases their neurological function, right? So trying to lift weights in the proper sequencing makes those neurons fire in proper sequence, and that helps a lot. They've shown that this decreases the chance of falling. When you've got that faster brain activity, when you go to trip, your brain can sense that faster, and it can calculate where that foot needs to go in relation to your fall, and you catch yourself, right? That's why we don't really fall all that much when we're young, but as we age, all of our muscles starts breaking down, our mind starts going, and we're not able to move because we don't have the muscles, and we're unable to calculate those quick short little distances and calculations because the brain's not functioning quite as well. And so lifting weights does this. And then increase the bone density, right? So if you do fall, your chances of breaking something are less likely because you've held onto that bone density. Then mental health. This is a big area of research right now. Improving creativity, decreases depression. They've taken people and they've made them do weightlifting routines. And what they found is that the people who did it had higher serotonin, dopamine release, and they felt better. They were less depressed. Talked about the increased attention span, reduced anxiety. They've taken people off their anxiety medications and getting that stress out and doing and having all of those good, hormones released. It's reduced anxiety. Sounds counterintuitive, but it's along the same lines of reducing chronic fatigue. You'd think that if you go to the gym for 2 hours, that you'd be more tired, but it's actually you're getting your heart rate up, you're getting these good positive hormones flowing, actually helps you sleep better at night. Because you get into a deeper sleep, you wake up more refreshed. So they found that it's reduced chronic fatigue, increases self-esteem, and that sleep improvement as well. I've got studies for all of this, references. This is not something that I just made up, on the fly. So if anybody's more interested in that kind of thing, I can absolutely show you where those studies come from. Any questions, comments, concerns about benefits of weight training? Cool. So last thing we've got going on here is your workout journals. All right. So I got a lot of people asking about workout journals and, do I need to send them to you every week? No, not at all. Please. I don't want to see them every week. Just keep track of it. If you want to send it to me so I can kind of give you some pointers, look it over, that's totally fine, but it's not due till the end of the semester. And then the big one is, what is it going to look like, right? So let's just go ahead and I've got a couple of my different workout journals as just ideas. Guys, it could be as simple. Let me blow this up and see, make sure that I can see. It could be as simple as just a notebook that you write all of your workouts in, okay? And you could just do something as simple as, what do I got here? Saturday, September 21st, right? Front squat, 3 sets of 10 at 95 kilos, and then just write it down. And then on the next page, like Friday, oh, look at that. I made a comeback PR. This is probably after my surgery, right? And you could just do this. And then at the end of the semester, you could take pictures of it, upload it in one PDF via the Dropbox app if you have that, or like Cam Scanner or something. Just something that shows me that you were consistently tracking your workouts over the course of the semester. If you only work out twice 1 week because you got finals, that's fine. If you work out 7 times a week, that's fine. Just show me something that every week you were doing something and that you kept track of it. That's it. If you want to get more fancy, there's stuff like this. This is a paid subscription where once a quarter they send you a workout journal. This is Gym Gypsy. We had this when I owned a gym. These were kind of cool. What it does is like you've got like a calendar in there. It's basically like a planner for your workout days, but then in addition, like they've got everything kind of laid out for you, right? So like, what appointments do you have for the day? What's your intention for the day? What was your strength work? What was your conditioning work? Did you do your mobility? Did you get sleep squat? Like, I mean, this is like very in-depth. And then they give you all these stickers. So like, I guess this was a really hard day. I put can't on there. You keep, this is a subscription service. You don't have to do anything like this. This is Gym Gypsy. I think it's like $12 every 4 months and they send you a brand new one. And this is kind of cool. Our members really like this because they got like different covers and stuff like that. And so it was kind of this like thing for them to look forward to, and that helped them stay motivated to keep track of all of it, right? And so again, for you personally, maybe it's not your thing, but maybe for a client that's having a hard time, maybe something like this that they look forward to. Oh, snap, did you see the new cover? It's awesome. It's got leaps on it and it's fall. Let's go get pumpkin spice latte. Awesome. Something like Gym Gypsy may be something that tickles your fancy, if you will. Let me share some screens for some virtual stuff. Right, you can do this. This is just simply a Word document. So this is a program that I'm writing for one of my old chief master sergeants that I used to work with. And I think he's funny that I call him old because he is kind of old. And we're doing like old man strong is what I'm calling this program for him. And it just simply says Monday. And it's got all the work, all the exercises that I want him to do. And then he goes in these spaces right below and he would type something like 175 kilograms. I got 2 sets of 10, and then I had to less weight for 1 by 10 because he's weak and he's old and he only got 150 kilos, right? Like that's something that you could do as well. It's a little bit more time to type everything out, but if that's your jam, then that's it. Now, the nice thing about typing all this stuff out, right, is all I've got to do now for the next week, week 5, and then I just like, maybe I want them to do 4 sets of 10, and I want them to do 3 sets of 10, and I want them to do 75% instead of 70%, right? So, you know, doing a Word document like this may be a little bit of work up front, but once you've got everything set up, it's pretty easy to go ahead and make changes on the fly until you run a new cycle or do new exercises. Let's do another screen share for another option. Let me pull, where did this go? Why is this like this? All right, so this one I'm gonna scare you guys with. Do not feel like you have to do this at all. Okay, but just to show you like what probably more advanced coaches are doing. All right, so this is an Excel sheet that I've made, and this is basically what I'm doing here is I am tracking how many different reps in each different exercise one of my athletes are doing. So this is a national weightlifter that I coach. He's good enough to go travel around the country and compete at national events. And so I take a little bit more time creating these spreadsheets for him than I would somebody who's just trying to get in shape, right? Because this guy's kind of career depends on this. We're taking money, we're taking time, and we're traveling around the country trying to compete for sponsors and stuff. And so this is very, very, very intricate and detailed where I calculate how many reps of the snatch he did, how many clean and jerks he did over the course of 4 weeks. And that puts into a pie chart here. So I can make sure that, hey, what we're doing for this phase is tracking on our plan, right? And then I've got all the different phases that he's in. So whether we're doing accumulation phase or we're doing like an intensification phase where the weights are heavier. And then I'm also looking at the trend line. So how many snatches is he doing week 1 compared to week 2, compared to week 3, compared to week 4? And we take a look at this every single month. We go back and we look and we say, all right, well, his snatch improved or his snatch didn't improve. Well, it improved. How many did we do? Well, let's make a note of that and let's try and increase that next cycle. Did his snatch continue to improve? Awesome. Then that means that we can add more weight. We can add more reps. Did it not? Well, now we probably added too much and he's having a hard time recovering. So let's take away some. Let's find that sweet spot, right? So this is constantly this thing, and this is why it's so important to journal everything, is that if you're really serious about your goals or coaching someone else's goals, if you don't know what you did the week before, the month before, 6 months before, it's really hard to make adjustments to then go ahead and progress your athlete, right? So this is another way that you can do it. Let me unshare this one and show you what it's a dual monitor thing that's screwing me up here. Okay. Let's unshare that one, get this all out of the way. And so what may like the day-to-day look like? Let's open this one. Where's my screen share? Oh, there we go. Okay, share my screen. Got too many tabs open, I'm sorry. All right. You guys see this new weightlifting template one? Okay, so this is like, so what I've done on this one here is I've got all of the exercises, how much they transfer, what their optimal percent range, what the characteristics that I'm going to train are, right? This is very Olympic weightlifting specific for the snatch, the clean, the jerk, all of my accessory exercises that I like to use. And then I've got like, hey, half of my lower body exercises should be jumping. And then some exercises that I really like, belt squats. I've got notes, reminders if I'm going to do pulling, some supplementary things that are going to help my pulling, upper body, unilateral, all of that. I've got how much I should go ahead and increase work sets per week, volume per week. These are all things that I found that I like, and these are just like little reminders for me. But then when I'm building my actual program and I'm tracking these stuff, I've got another spreadsheet. And so here, right, I can base all of my lifts on an exercise. And so what I have my athletes do is I put in all of their best lifts over here on the right. And then whenever I type in any kind of percent, it auto-populates what weight they're going to do for the day. All right. And then I just type in what exercise I want them to do. So like maybe I want them to do a deadlift here. And I go ahead and I select deadlift because that's what I want my, it's not working. That's what I want my, my numbers to be based off of. And then if I go ahead and I put in 90% here, it automatically updates all of the weights for that set. This keeps track of all of the total reps, the tonnage, which is your reps times how many sets you're doing, and the weight. I've got that for every single exercise. And then at the end of the week, I've got all of my totals for how much average clean and jerk, average squat weight for the week, for the day, all of that. And then that all transfers into my other Excel sheet to update my trends. Okay, so this is another thing that you could do. Again, this is a lot of work, right? Like these spreadsheets, making all of these formulas. If you look up here, right, I programmed all of these formulas. This is a lot of work, a ton of work. But if you do it, it's done, right? And any single athlete that I've got now, I just go ahead and I plug it into their numbers and it auto-populates basically for an entire year what their workouts are going to be. Now I go back and I adjust it based on interactions that I have with my athlete, and we adjust things on the fly. Maybe they get hurt, right? Somebody emailed me today that they rolled their ankle and they wouldn't be able to exercise. Cool, right? So we go back and we adjust some numbers, but just some different ideas for you. Here's one other thing to make it, to show you it doesn't even have to be that fancy. Where's my Zoom? There we go, screen share. Last one, run tracker. So this was one that I did when we were tracking how many miles per day we're doing, right? So it does not need to look fancy. If it just says like, so here was a run tracker, the goal was to get 150 miles in a day, did 30 days, put the dates in, how many miles per day I did, and it added it up for me. And then I had how many more I had left, simple formulas. All right. And then I just tracked my mileage over here. So on Wednesday, I did 3.1. It was an easy, I ran it between a 9:20 and a 10:17 easy pace. Right. So make it however, you know, fancy you want to do it. Make it as simple as you want to do it. I don't want you guys to like spend your whole life making these spreadsheets if this is not something that you're going to do for your entire life. If you just want to write down your journal, that's totally fine. Screenshot it, send it in a PDF. I said I just wanted to give you some ideas. I wanted to also expose you to what real like strength and conditioning coaches are doing. Every single football team that I've shadowed, every college sports team that I've looked at and shadowed, they all run Excel sheets, kind of like what I just showed you, where it tracks volume, percentages, all of that. And so if you're not experienced in Excel and you're thinking about getting into that field, it's a good opportunity for you to practice. That's all I got for that stuff. Any questions? Thought we were going to get out of here early today. I totally lied to you. I apologize. Questions, comments, concerns? Like I said, don't get overwhelmed at those spreadsheets. If you want to make one, awesome. If you just want to write it down, do it. If you want to put it super simple and not calculate all the volume, awesome. Want to put it in a Word document? Great. I don't need them until the end of the semester. If you want to shoot them to me earlier to just take a look, cool. So long as I can see that you did some workouts and you tracked your progress and that we had a beginning goal, we have an end goal, and you work towards it, you guys are going to be fine. Don't overthink this. Beverly asks, is it only physical oriented or can you also add a nutrition change? You're going to get graded on the physical portion. If you want to add nutrition because you want to better yourself, like by all means, go ahead, throw in a nutrition change. And if you want some feedback on your nutrition stuff, I would be more than happy to look at that for you. Like I said, I've got a lot of experience in this stuff. It's what I do for my main job. And so I'm more than happy to get you guys on track and look at stuff for you. I am here to help you as much as I can, honestly. So if you want to throw in some nutrition stuff, it's going to be more work on you and you're not going to get like extra points, and I'm not going to, you know, downgrade you or anything like that. But if you just want somebody else's opinion on it, absolutely throw it on in. Barely work Excel watching. So I had no experience in Excel, Zach, zero. I went and I looked at one of like the top weightlifting coaches programming in the country, and he showed me how he tracks all of this, and I was like, holy shit, I need to learn Excel. And so I just went home and I started watching YouTube videos, and I started, okay, this cell minus this cell equals this. That's kind of cool. Can I do this? And I just started thinking about it. I would email these coaches, hey, how are you looking at this? And just YouTube video. It's all self-taught. Once you get the basics of, like, Excel's incredibly powerful. So if you're interested in that, just start playing around with it. Like, honestly, I use it for my advanced stats class. I use it for biomechanics class. It's so much, it makes life really, really easy once you get a firm handle on it. That's all that I got for today. I appreciate everyone being patient with me. We are going to work out on Wednesday for sure. We're going to do some stuff. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. I typed up all of my notes. It's like 37 pages of notes here that I'm going to read over and over again. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. Yeah, we're going to work out on Wednesday. If you guys come across anything, by all means, email me, please. I will get back to it. I apologize for not getting back to some of your emails later. I also had a pipe burst in my garage this weekend. It was a weekend. We're struggling today, fam. No, it's all right. It's all good. That's all that I got. Thank you guys for coming in, listening to this. Thanks for letting me record it. I'll post this up on YouTube later this afternoon if you want to go back, rewatch, pause things. Again, thank you guys. I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a good one.